My name is Eleanor and I'm 35 years old. I work as a financial director at a large corporation downtown. It's the kind of job that requires long hours, careful planning, and a lot of patience dealing with budgets and spreadsheets. But I'm good at it, and the pay is excellent. I've been saving money and investing since I was 22. Every bonus, every raise, every extra dollar went into savings or investments. I had a plan. I wanted to buy my dream house and I wasn't going to settle for anything less than perfect. It took 13 years of discipline and sacrifice, but this spring I finally did it. I bought my dream house. The house is everything I wanted. 3 bedrooms, a modern kitchen, hardwood floors throughout. But what I'm most proud of is my office with a smart home system that controls everything from the lights to the temperature, and the indoor terrace surrounded by high walls where I can sit and drink coffee in complete privacy. The house is registered in my name. I bought it with my money, my savings, my investments. I live there with my husband, Julian. We've been married for 5 years. He works in business consulting and travels a lot for work. He's often in Boston or Chicago or somewhere else for weeks at a time. We're used to it by now. Julian has a sister named Sophie. She's 32 and married to a guy named Marcus. Marcus calls himself a travel blogger, but as far as I can tell, he doesn't have a permanent job. He posts photos online and talks about his adventures, but I've never seen any real income from it. Sophie works occasionally, but she's never held a job for more than a few months. They're always broke, always asking for money from family members. I've been paying their rent for the last few months. They kept calling saying they couldn't make the payment, that they'd pay me back soon. I knew they wouldn't pay me back, but I did it anyway because Julian asked me to because they're family. A few weeks ago there was a series of thefts in my neighborhood. 3 houses got broken into in the span of 2 weeks. The police increased patrols, but I wasn't taking any chances. I installed a security system with an alarm and 5 cameras. 1 at the front door, 1 at the back door, 1 in the living room, 1 covering the driveway, and 1 watching the street. The system was connected to my phone, and I could check the cameras anytime. I gave spare keys to a few relatives in case of an emergency. My parents have a set. Julian's parents have a set. And Julian obviously has his own keys. I meant to tell everyone about the new security system, but I forgot. Work got busy and it slipped my mind. Last Tuesday, I was at work sitting through a quarterly budget meeting. It was one of those meetings that drags on for hours while people argue about allocations and projections. I was half listening when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from my security system. Break-in detected. Front door. Duplicate key used. I opened the camera app on my phone immediately. The video feed showed Sophie and Marcus walking into my house like they owned the place. Sophie was carrying bags and Marcus was looking around, nodding like he approved of something. They just walked in using a spare key. 30 seconds later, the alarm went off. The sound was deafening even through the phone. I watched Sophie cover her ears and Marcus frantically looking around for something. They didn't know the shutdown code. Of course they didn't. I'd never given it to them. The security company operator's voice came through the system on speakerphone. This is home security. Please state the name of the homeowner and the security phrase. Marcus was yelling over the alarm. I don't know the phrase. This is my brother Julian's house. The system has notified the police. Please remain where you are. I switched to the street camera. There was a small truck parked in my driveway. The back was open and I could see furniture and moving boxes inside. Furniture. Moving boxes. They weren't just visiting. They were planning to move in. I sat there staring at my phone while people around me continued debating budget line items. Sophie and Marcus were trying to move into my house without asking me, without telling me. They just decided they could live there because they couldn't pay their own rent anymore. I excused myself from the meeting and went into an empty conference room. I called the police non-emergency line to confirm what was happening. This is Eleanor Vance. I received an alert that police were dispatched to my address. I need to confirm what's going on. They transferred me to Officer Baker. He asked me several questions. Did Sophie and Marcus have permission to be there? Did I know they were coming? Did I give them permission to live in my house? No, I said to every question. I did not know they were coming. I did not give permission. They broke into my house without my consent. Officer Baker said they'd been detained for trespassing, and that I'd need to come down to the station to give a statement. I said I'd come after work. Then I called Julian. He was in Boston for a conference. The phone rang 4 times before he picked up. "Hey, what's up?" he said. I could hear voices in the background. "Your sister and Marcus just broke into our house. They used a spare key and walked in." There was a pause. Then Julian said, "Oh yeah, I knew about that. Sophie called me last week. Marcus got fired and they got evicted from their apartment. I told her they could stay with us for a while. I was going to tell you, but it's not a big deal. We have a spare room. It's not a big deal." My voice was rising. "They broke into my house. Julian, they brought furniture. They were moving in without telling me." "You're overreacting," he said. "Their family, it's fine. They've been arrested for trespassing. You called the cops on my sister now." His voice was loud. "Are you serious right now?" "I didn't call them. The security system did automatically." "Well, fix it then. Tell them it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake. They broke in. This is ridiculous. Eleanor, you're making this into something it's not." I realized he wasn't going to see my side. He wasn't going to support me. He was defending his sister who just invaded my house. "I have to go," I said and hung up. I sat there for a minute trying to process everything. Then I called Julian's mother. My mother-in-law answered on the first ring. "Hello, Eleanor. Did you know Sophie and Marcus were moving into my house today?" I asked. "Yes, I knew," she said calmly. "I'm the one who told them to move in with you. You have a big house with several rooms. They needed a place to stay. We're family, Eleanor. Family helps each other. There's no need for all these formalities." "Formalities? They broke in. The police are there." Her tone changed immediately. "You called the police on them? Are you trying to give them a criminal record? Do you know what that could do to their future? They broke into my house." I repeated. "I didn't call the police. The security system did it automatically. You should fix this," she said. "Tell the police it was a misunderstanding. Don't make this into something bigger than it needs to be." "I'm not fixing anything," I said. "They had no right to enter my house without permission." She started saying something else, but I hung up. I couldn't listen to another person tell me I was wrong for protecting my own property. I went back to the meeting, but I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about Sophie and Marcus in my house, about Julian knowing and not telling me, about his mother encouraging them to just move in without asking. An hour later, my phone rang again. It was Sophie. I stepped out of the meeting room again and answered. Before I could say anything, Sophie started screaming. "The police treated us like criminals. The whole neighborhood was watching. People were laughing at us. Do you know how humiliating that was?" I turned on my phone's voice recorder. I had a feeling I'd need this conversation documented. "You broke into my house. I said I had a key. Julian gave us permission. His mother gave us permission. We had every right to be there. You didn't have my permission. You set a trap for us. You put that alarm there on purpose to make us look bad. I installed security because there were break-ins in the neighborhood. I didn't know you tried to move in without telling me. I want $15,000. Sophie said. I stopped walking. "What? $15,000 for humiliation and emotional damage. You embarrassed us in front of the entire neighborhood. You owe us." Something inside me snapped. All the months of paying their rent, all the times they'd asked for money, all the excuses and complaints. And now she was demanding more money because I wouldn't let her steal my house. "You'll be talking to my lawyer from now on," I said and hung up. I stood in the hallway for a moment trying to calm down. Then I called my friend Camille. She's a lawyer who specializes in real estate. We met in college and stayed close over the years. "I need legal advice," I said when she answered. I told her everything. The break-in, the moving truck, Julian giving permission without asking me, his mother encouraging it, and Sophie demanding $15,000. Camille was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "This isn't a family dispute. This is a violation of property rights. What they did was housing invasion, and Sophie demanding compensation could qualify as extortion. What should I do? Go to the police station? File an official statement? Bring that recording of Sophie demanding money? Get copies of the security footage? Document everything? Julian's going to be furious. Julian let his sister break into your house. Your safety and property rights are more important than his feelings." She was right. I knew she was right. I took the rest of the day off work and drove to the police station. Officer Baker was there, an older man with gray hair and a kind face. I told him I wanted to file a formal statement. I showed him the security footage on my phone. I played him the recording of Sophie demanding $15,000. He listened to the whole thing, his expression getting more serious as Sophie's voice screeched through the phone speaker. "You did the right thing coming here," he said. "We'll issue a warning to stay away from your property. If they violate it, there will be consequences. I'm worried about my safety." I said they have family members who might try to come to the house. "We'll make note of that in the report." He said, "Keep your security system active. Call us if anyone shows up." I thanked him and left the station. On the way home I checked my phone. 15 missed calls from Julian. 10 text messages. All variations of the same thing. "Call me back. This is serious. You need to withdraw the police report. My sister can't have this on her record." Not one message asking if I was okay. Not one message concerned about me. Just demands to protect his sister. When I got home I went straight to my office. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a folder I'd been keeping since a few months ago. Inside were divorce papers. Blank divorce papers I printed but never filled out. I printed them the day Julian withdrew almost $30,000 from our joint account without telling me. He'd given it to Sophie to cover one of her debts. When I confronted him, he said it was from our shared money, so he had every right to use it. I was furious, but he refused to see the problem. That's when I printed these papers and hid them in my desk. Now I took them out and started filling them in. My name, Julian's name, all the details. I filled out every line carefully, making sure everything was correct. I knew what was coming. Julian would rush home. He'd be angry. He'd blame me for everything. And I was going to hand him these papers and end this marriage. I'd married him thinking we were partners. But partners don't let their family invade your home. Partners don't prioritize their sister over their wife. Partners don't steal money from joint accounts to give to their siblings. I finished filling out the forms and put them in a clean folder. Then I sat on my terrace and waited. Julian came home that night. I heard his car pull into the driveway around 9 o'clock. He didn't park normally. He just stopped the car and left it there, door slamming loud enough for the neighbors to hear. He walked in without knocking, his face red with anger. "What the hell did you do?" I was sitting on the couch with the folder next to me. "I protected my property. The police gave Sophie a restraining order. She can't come within 500 feet of this house. Do you know how humiliating that is for her? She tried to move into my house without permission," I said calmly. "She brought a truck full of furniture. She demanded $15,000 from me. She's family. You should have talked to me first. You knew they were coming and didn't tell me. You gave them permission to move into my house without asking me. This is my house, Julian. My name is on the deed, not yours." His face got redder. "We're married. What's yours is mine." "No," I said, "this house was bought with money I saved for 13 years before we even got married. It's registered in my name alone. You have no claim to it. You're being ridiculous. They just needed a place to stay temporarily." I picked up the folder and pulled out the divorce papers. "Our marriage is over." He stared at the papers like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "You're divorcing me over this?" "I'm divorcing you because your concept of family and my concept of decency will never work together. I'm choosing my safety and my dignity." He grabbed the papers from my hand, looked at them for a moment, then threw them on the floor. "Fine. You want a divorce? You'll get one, and I'm taking half of everything. Good luck with that," I said. He went upstairs and I could hear him throwing things into bags, drawers slamming, closet doors banging. He came down 20 minutes later with 2 suitcases and a box. "I'll be back for the rest of my stuff," he said. "Call first," I said. "You don't live here anymore." He left, making sure to slam the front door as hard as he could. I watched through the window as he loaded his car and drove away. Then I sat down on the couch and took a deep breath. It was done. The marriage was over and I felt relieved. The next morning I called a locksmith. He came out within 2 hours and changed every lock in the house. Front door, back door, garage door, new keys, new codes for the keypad. I kept one set for myself and gave one set to Camille. Then I called my home security company and upgraded everything maximum security level, motion sensors on every window, additional cameras, and I removed Julian and his parents from the emergency contact list. I put Camille's name and number instead. After that, I went through my phone and blocked Julian's number, then Sophie's number, then his parents' numbers. I deleted all their contacts. I blocked them on social media, on email, everywhere I could think of. I didn't want to hear from any of them ever again. The divorce process started a month later. Julian hired a lawyer who immediately demanded half of the house. My lawyer, Camille, filed a response citing state property laws. The house was purchased with my money and was registered solely in my name. Under our state's laws, he had no claim to it. It took 3 months for the divorce to finalize. We had to go to court twice. The first time was for preliminary hearings. The second time was for the final judgment. At the final hearing, Julian sat on one side of the courtroom with his lawyer. His parents and Sophie were sitting behind him in the gallery. They all stared at me with pure hatred in their eyes. The judge reviewed all the documentation, the deed showing my sole ownership, the bank records showing the house was purchased with my savings, the prenuptial agreement we'd signed that clearly stated any property owned before or purchased individually during the marriage remained separate. The house remains the sole property of Mrs. Vance, the judge said. Mr. Harrison has no claim to it. I saw Julian's jaw clench. His mother put her hand over her mouth. Sophie just glared at me. The divorce was finalized. We divided the joint bank account equally. He took his personal belongings. Everything else stayed with me. We had no children, no shared debts, nothing tying us together anymore. When I walked out of the courtroom, I felt lighter than I had in months, maybe years. I'd been carrying the weight of that marriage, of Julian's family, of their constant demands and drama. Now it was gone. I got in my car and drove home. My home, just mine. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a moment, looking at the house I'd worked so hard to buy. I'd done it. I protected what was mine. I'd stood up for myself and I was free. Months passed. Life became surprisingly calm. I went to work, came home, had dinner, watched TV. Simple things, normal things. No drama, no demands, no one trying to take advantage of me. I heard through one of Julian's cousins what happened to them after the divorce. Julian had been working on some big project in Europe, but after the scandal with Sophie and the divorce, his company recalled him. They said he couldn't manage his own family, so how could he manage important projects? They removed him from key assignments. Eventually he quit. He moved back in with his parents. And then Sophie and Marcus moved in too after they lost their apartment. 5 adults living in a 2-bedroom house with 2 retired people. Marcus never found another job. He kept talking about big opportunities, about deals that were coming through, about his travel blog taking off, but nothing ever happened. He just sat around posting photos online and waiting for success to find him. Sophie couldn't hold down any job. She'd get hired somewhere, work for a few weeks, then quit because the hours were too long or the pay was too low or the work was beneath her. She loved buying expensive things, going to nice restaurants, acting like she had money when she didn't. All their expenses were slowly draining Julian's parents' retirement savings. I heard all this through Julian's cousin, who felt bad about what happened and stayed in touch with me. She said the house was chaos. 5 adults fighting over the bathroom, over food, over everything. Julian's parents looked exhausted all the time. I felt nothing hearing about it. Not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. They'd made their choices and now they were living with the consequences. After the divorce, I decided to stay away from relationships for a while. I didn't trust men anymore. Or maybe I didn't trust my own judgment. Either way, I wasn't ready to date. But 6 months after the divorce, Camille sat me down over coffee and told me I should consider therapy. You've been through a lot, she said. It might help to talk to someone professional about it. I didn't think I needed therapy. I felt fine. But Camille kept pushing, so eventually I agreed to try it. The therapist's name was Dr. Moreau. She was in her 50s, calm and patient. I told her everything about the marriage, about Sophie and Marcus breaking in, about Julian's betrayal, about the divorce. She listened to all of it without interrupting. Then she said, "You did everything right. You protected your home and your safety. You set boundaries. Those are healthy things to do. The people who should have protected you chose to side with the people who violated your space. That's not your fault. We talked for weeks about trust, about boundaries, about recognizing red flags in relationships. She helped me understand that not everyone was like Julian, that I could find someone who respected me and my property and my decisions. You learned something valuable, she said. You learned how to set boundaries. That's going to make your next relationship stronger. After 6 months of therapy, I felt ready to try again. Not desperate to find someone, just open to the possibility. I met Arthur at a hospital fundraiser that my company sponsored. He was a surgeon, 42 years old, divorced with no kids. We started talking at the buffet table about the terrible music the DJ was playing and somehow ended up talking for 2 hours. He asked for my number. I gave it to him. We started dating slowly. Dinner once a week, then twice a week. He never pushed for more than I was comfortable with. He respected my space, my time, my decisions. After 3 months, I told him about Julian and the break-in and the divorce. I watched his face carefully to see how he'd react. That must have been terrifying, he said. Having someone break into your home like that. You don't think I overreacted? Overreacted? You did exactly what you should have done. Your home is your sanctuary. Nobody has the right to violate that. That's when I knew he was different. He understood boundaries. He understood respect. He understood that family doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want. We've been dating for about 4 months when something happened that made me laugh harder than I had in years. I came home from work one day and found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. It was from Julian's mother. I opened it carefully, wondering what she could possibly want after all this time. Inside was a single sheet of paper with her handwriting covering both sides. I started reading. The letter was incredible. She wrote that she had been thinking about everything that happened. She wrote that she understood I might still be upset. And then in the most absurd sentence I'd ever read, she wrote that she forgave me. She wrote that she was allowing me to return to the family to come back to Julian. She said they could work things out, that families overcome obstacles, that I just needed to apologize for calling the police on Sophie and everything could go back to normal. I stood in my kitchen reading this letter and I started laughing. I laughed so hard tears came to my eyes. The audacity of this woman, she forgave me. She was allowing me to return. I read the letter 3 more times, laughing harder each time. Then I took it over to my paper shredder and fed it through. I watched it turn into hundreds of tiny pieces, the words becoming unreadable confetti. I threw the shredded pieces in the trash and went to make dinner. That weekend, I told Arthur about the letter while we were having brunch. He nearly choked on his coffee when I got to the part about her forgiving me. She forgave you? He said. For what? For protecting my own house, apparently. He shook his head. That family is insane. Former family, I corrected. I have nothing to do with them anymore. Good, he said. You deserve better. I did deserve better. I'd worked hard my entire adult life to build something for myself. I'd saved money, invested wisely, bought my dream house, and I protected it when people tried to take it from me. Now I had a life that was peaceful. I had a job I was good at. I had a house I loved. I had a man who respected me. And I had the knowledge that I could stand up for myself when it mattered. Sometimes at night I'd sit on my indoor terrace and think about everything that happened. About Sophie and Marcus breaking in, about Julian's betrayal, about the divorce, about all of it. And I'd realize that it was the best thing that could have happened. It showed me who people really were. Taught me to protect what was mine. It freed me from a marriage that would have slowly destroyed me.